Graphic Arts Guild. If you're new to us, you may be familiar with our Pricing and Ethical Guidelines Handbook. So the Guild is all about community and advocacy. So check out our calendar for monthly events. We have so little time, so let's get moving. My name is Ed Shems. Right now, join us for a lively discussion on how design can help broker peace in our world. Our panelists will share their insights and experiences on how designers can contribute to creating a more peaceful society and how their work can inspire others to join the cause. Don't miss the inspiring conversation on Design for Peace, hashtag Design for Peace right there. Here's Rebecca Blake, our advocacy liaison, to make introductions.
Yep, I am so happy to introduce our first panelist, if we can let her onto the screen right now. I am thrilled to introduce Jessica. Jessica Bantam is a DEIB practitioner and workplace strategist with over 20 years of experience. She helps organizations develop customized strategies for transformational change and enables individuals to become more inclusive. She's also the author of Design for Identity, How to Design Authentically for a Diverse World. Jessica is certified in diversity coaching and change management and has a certificate in diversity and inclusion from Cornell University. In addition to her work in DEIB, she is also an interior design and color consultant. She uses her specialization in design thinking to develop innovative approaches that transcend industries. Let's bring on board our next panelist. And our next panelist is Carl Cleanthus. Carl Cleanthus is a creative entrepreneur who, in 2006, founded Epic Made, a team of millennial game nerds who live and breathe advertising, digital art, and storytelling. Over the years, Carl and his team have created powerful and eye-catching creative assets for some of the most notable brands in the world, including the USA Network, Nickelodeon, Sci-Fi, WWE, Shopify, and many others. Carl, aka Colorful Carl, has a YouTube channel and a Twitch live art stream where he promotes and inspires creativity in his community. Thank you for joining us, Carl. And I think those are our two panelists. So let's dive right into our questions. Bear in mind, this is a lightning round. We need to finish by 2:18. So Jessica, to you, how can design be used to promote messages of unity and commonality, even in the midst of conflict?
Sure, this is a great question. What comes to mind for me when I think of that question is the power of design to cut through the noise. The power of one simple image or very few words to really convey something that can do more than a whole 15-minute conversation.
Yes.
So that, that's one of the great things about design to me, is that its power to do that and its capacity to do that. But in combination with that, I think of the need for us as designers to also interact with the people that we're designing for.
Yeah.
Thinking about who our audience is and really interacting and finding out what's meaningful to them so that we can find what those commonalities are and incorporate that into our creative process to come up with solutions.
That is so wise. Carl, do you want to add anything to that real quick?
No, I think she hit the nail on the head. You can bridge so many gaps in cultures and even languages with visual communication, and that power in itself has more reach than maybe anything. So yeah, absolutely.
So Carl, you work in the WW3 space. What design techniques or strategies have been most effective in creating peaceful and harmonious messaging for you?
In Web3? Is that what you're asking?
In your professional practice, but I know you have a special slant on it because of your experience.
Yeah, I think the community building aspect of what, the web did for us and allowed people to create actual bonds with other human beings all over planet Earth is super powerful. The deeper level of that now with Web3 is that there's actual valuable transactions going on with NFTs and things of that nature, and I can get deep into that, but I'll stay surface level on it for now. But yeah, it's really amazing stuff. And then the thing that really got everyone excited about this new technology is absolutely the visuals and the people and the art that people put into these things. So yeah.
Jessica, you work in, I think, a bit of a different space than Carl. What would you like to add to that question?
Yeah, it's interesting. I use design thinking or human-centered design approaches in a lot of my work, from my work in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and also in my design work itself. And I find that those practices and some of the tools that we use in the design thinking space translate really well into actual design projects too, including the design sprint format, which is basically a framework used to have people collaborate and engage from across different parts of an organization, and bring their perspectives together to
Right.
create innovative solutions.
Right. That's great. So, Jessica, can you speak to the importance of considering cultural and historical context when designing for peace? I think this is really in your bailiwick.
It is, and it's all throughout my book, Design for Identity, which really actually speaks to the importance of having cultural competence as designers. And that
Yes.
cultural competence is having that understanding, appreciation, and ability to interact with people from different cultural backgrounds and different belief systems than your own. And we can't fully design as designers unless we factor that in, because if not, then we are designing from a very performative standpoint, and
Yes.
just using more of our perceptions and our interpretations of things into the final product than what the customers actually resonate with and what really honors them.
Yeah. Carl, what about you? What would you like to add to what Jessica said? I know that's you've done a lot of advocacy work, that your wife has done a lot of advocacy work. What perspective can you bring?
Yeah, I think there's a huge thing here about splitting the hair between cultural appropriation and appreciation, and that you can't really appreciate someone's culture unless you get on the ground and have conversations with the people that represent that culture. So if you don't directly have experience and know that, you should be having those conversations with those people of whatever culture you're representing, and also that making sure that they're at the table to have the conversation with you if you're doing things that represent their culture or their space or their community.
Right. That is really helpful. So the next question is, and this is our last question, so we have made really great time. So I think we can actually, revisit a bunch of the ideas that we've come up with. So, Carl, in what ways can design be used to help bridge divides and foster dialogue between different groups?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. I think it stems into the visual storytelling and the communication, right? Like, you can display something to someone in a visual manner that, like, a lot of times numbers and statistics and things, they come in and they just sound like wah wah wah, like, oh, like a million and a billion and a trillion, they all rhyme. That's pretty much the same amount of money, right? It's not. Like, so visually representing things can help bridge gaps across things like language barriers or even cultural divides. Like, showing visual examples of things, I think, makes a big difference. It's hugely powerful.
Yeah. Jessica, what would you say to this question? Would you like me to repeat it?
Oh no, I'm good with this, and it's interesting, Carl. You mentioned storytelling, and I feel like that is such an important component of the design process. Um, And it's really relevant because it creates that space and opportunity for people to engage from a very personal standpoint. And for people I think people develop more of an appreciation when they do hear personal stories.
Yeah.
So I see that, I see design as kind of a forcing function for having a lot of conversations that may not take place
Yeah.
otherwise. And in the process of us sharing, different insights and perspectives, that we as creatives kind of hone in on those cues that will help us develop something that's really outside the box, but really actually resonates and drives home a particular messaging.
Right. So I think that all of this discussion is really great. And I think what you guys are telling me, I think, gives us an awful lot of hope for the future, because we do see that we live in a very divisive world, a very divisive society. So it sounds as if you guys really do see the power of design in being able to help us bridge these cultural divides, and really ideological divides. Do you see designers, do the two of you see designers as really being key to addressing a lot of the issues we're seeing?
Yeah, so design thinking, like Jessica mentioned, is very much like the foundational way to implement a thing, right? Implement an idea, move something from up here to execution, and so yeah, I mean, designers, you see, I in my personal life, I've seen every profession of creative person start as a graphic designer and end up in any number of different fields and management and all different things because the way a designer thinks is forced to take in all the variables, digest what we're doing here, and say, all right, well, what are we trying to get to? Well, let's make a thing that goes there, and we're going to do that with these visuals and this strategy and this boom, 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 and that whole concept layers in. Designers are some of the most powerful people I think out there,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Jessica, do you echo that?
I definitely agree. I actually have a whole chapter in my book called Culturally Competent Design as Activism. And it really, kind of connects those dots. You think about the power that designers have in creating these images that just, are burned in our memories, and things that really connect in ways that, don't even require a voice track. And that impact is so real. And we can step into different spaces in different capacities, and just our creative skills and background are just so we're often, I feel like, the missing piece in a lot of different spaces.
I absolutely
And
agree.
For
Yeah.
sure. And
For
it's
sure.
so funny how
Definitely.
our profession's undermined all the time. Like, oh, well, we don't need design. We don't need creative. Like, oh, we got budget cuts. Let's make everything just real utilitarian. It's like, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think communicating the value of design and the value of designers is so key. Listen, guys, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us for this International Design Day, this quick discussion on design for peace. I think you guys really distilled a lot of thoughts about the role of the designer and what we do and how we can go forward into addressing a lot of the problems that are existing right now. So thank you so much. To everybody who's watching on the different Guild social media streams, stay tuned. We're going to be ending this session, and our next session will be starting at 12:20. So we look forward to seeing you there, and happy International Day of Design, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.